Amber Currie, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Get Foxy Show with us today. I am so thrilled to finally have you on the show because you were one of the people when I first was getting a list put together of guests, I wanted you on the show. So I'm glad we could finally make this happen.
Thank you so much, Terry. Me too. I've been an admirer of your work for some years too, so it's nice to get to sit down with you.
Well, thank you very much. Now, most of my listeners are familiar somewhat with holistic medicine, but they may not be familiar with homeopathy. So what exactly is homeopathy?
Thanks for asking, Terry. Homeopathy is a field of healing that's actually a Western medicine. It was developed in Germany and France beginning in the 17 and 1800s, and the research and practice has continued since then. It's a big part of the national healthcare programs in most of the European countries, in much of South and Central America, and in India too. So I guess it's been adopted in the East by a lot of healthcare professionals as well. Here in the US, it has been a popular form of holistic medicine since, the late 1800s. It's been underground for a long time after the age of antibiotics. Made people just want antibiotics for a long time. It's interesting that that is sort of coming to an end again as science understands the role of the microbiome and that germs are not really the problem and germ warfare is not what we need to be doing. And that we're going back to the idea that the whole person is really what we need to be addressing to have a healthy, full life, full of, feeling able to function optimally and feel great, which is what we all want. So homeopathic medicine has sometimes been described as acupuncture in pill form. Okay, so you're well trained in this, and you know this isn't exactly accurate, but it gives a general idea that what we're trying to do is stimulate the body's own ability to function well and to help it balance things out. When things go really well in homeopathy, the beautiful experience is very subtle. You just get better. It feels like on your own, because it is on your own. You just use a little tiny homeopathic remedy, which is made from a substance in nature and diluted down to a nanodose so that it doesn't work chemically anymore. It really works on a more subtle level to stimulate the body's ability to heal emotionally, physically, and allow you to be who you're supposed to be in this world. More practically speaking, people usually come seeking homeopathy because they've got some suffering in their lives. Sometimes it's depression, sometimes it's chronic headaches, sometimes it's hormonal imbalances or digestive disorders. There are lots of different reasons that people come to homeopathy. When I first discovered homeopathy, it was for my children who, kids get sick sometimes when they're little. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to fill them up full of medications and have them always be on antihistamines, and I didn't, and antibiotics and all those kinds of things. And I just found it to be wonderfully helpful for my children and for myself in those early days. And, nothing's going to get in the way of feeling foxy and enjoying life if you're worried all the time. If you're worried all the time, you're just not going to be enjoying life a lot. And I found it incredibly empowering to be able to access these easy homeopathic remedies and help everybody feel better quickly when life's little accidents happened. And it eventually changed my life. I went back to school and studied homeopathy for 4 years in my postgraduate programs. And here I am today helping people and, just enjoying the heck out of getting to see what people are capable of when they're functioning at their best. It's wonderful.
You bet. So it sounds like homeopathy and homeopathic medicine is very holistic. It sounds like it treats both physical and emotional type issues. Have I got that correct?
That's right. I think when most people come across homeopathic remedies, it's in the health food store, where there are those little bottles that say things like, oh, earaches or flu. And those things can be really helpful. My particular practice is focused on chronic problems. And it's interesting, we always work with the physical body and the emotional body at the same time. It's not even possible in homeopathy to just work with your depression without also working with everything else that's out of balance. Because our goal is to stimulate the body's innate intelligence so that it brings things into harmony. That's the big goal that we're looking to achieve, not just help one symptom to get better. Because, if things are still out of balance, you're going to have other symptoms pop up. And people who've been through other kinds of medicine have experienced this, certainly, and often don't associate the two that, well, okay, problem X here is better, but now I've developed this new one that's maybe even worse. So the overall picture may not be, better on the net side of things, on the net side of the equation. So it's a unique way of approaching health in some ways.
Isn't that interesting how in our culture we have this kind of disconnect between mind, body, emotions, and how we say, okay, well, I'm depressed, so, I'm going to go treat the symptoms for that depression, even though there may be somatic and body type issues that go along with it. And so it's just funny how we go from, okay, I'm going to be treating this thing over here and it's in this box. When as holistic health practitioners, we know that those aren't separate. They're all in the same box.
Yeah.
You can't separate mind, body, spirit. It's all together. So it's absolutely wonderful that homeopathy can address all of those issues. I guess I don't want to say all in one fell swoop because I don't want to make it sound like we're talking miracle treatments here, because that's generally not the case. I'm sure there's protocols that you follow.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, we all want the single magic pill that's going to make everything better, Terry. Wouldn't that be nifty? But the fact is that we have to approach things. The information that the body gives us, the symptoms that you're having in homeopathy, are always seen as information. And I have truly been humbled many times in my career by the beauty of that. If you really respect the symptoms as information that you can use to give the correct support. This isn't new to you, you know all this. It's incredible how the body can respond. And the difference is here, we're not just trying to get rid of symptoms. This isn't, of course we want less suffering in our lives, but to respect the body as having its own intelligence, that the reason it's giving us these particular symptoms is so that we can use that information to support it in the best way to achieve the higher goals for you in this life. So, for me, it's just beautiful. And it's a really different way of looking at the body. I think in this culture, sadly, a lot of times we think about our bodies as, well, first off, they need to look good. Right? And that's one of their big purposes, is to look nice. And then, they'll need to allow us to show up to work, right? And any symptoms that show up that keep us from looking good or showing up at school or work, well, we just need to get rid of those immediately, and we're just going to pay as little attention to them as possible, right? Because we got things to do, and, cute clothes to wear or whatever. I'm being a little bit silly about this, but it's a really different approach to thinking about why our bodies work the way that they do. It's because they have messages for us. And really, the homeopathic way of thinking about health as a whole is when it's optimal and we're functioning at our best, then that allows us to be the people that we were designed to be and do our God-given work here on the planet, whatever that is. You don't need to have a particular faith to benefit from homeopathy or any faith at all. Some of my favorite people to work with have just been people who had tried everything and didn't even have a lot of hope that anything was going to help them. And homeopathy works for them too. So, yeah.
And I'm assuming you can treat anybody from infants clear up to people one foot in the grave.
Yes, well, I can work with those people, but one of the cool things about homeopathy that I'm particularly jazzed about is we can work with treating problems, but homeopathy, there's a whole specialty within that field that's about preventing illness. Things as simple as the flu or infections after you cut yourself, but also contagious diseases. And this is being used on a very large scale in lots of countries with, many tens of millions of people being involved in programs to prevent tropical diseases and, problems that there may or may not be vaccines for, but homeopathy is much less expensive than that way of disease prevention. And it's easy to give out, and it's pretty nifty that there's another good option like that. And of course, I hope that at some point the research will be compelling enough and the clinical experiences will be compelling enough that we can start looking at that on a larger scale here in this country. But in places like Cuba and Brazil and India, there are many millions of people who are already using and benefiting from homeopathy for disease prevention, as well as disease treatment. It's in, emergency rooms and surgeries around the world. But here in the U.S., the easiest way to access it is just at the health food store. It's over-the-counter medicine right now. Lots of people have seen the little blue vials there in the health food store. I'm sure you have too.
Yep, I definitely have.
Yep. And, I think every mom should have at least a few of those remedies at home because they're easy to use and they're great and they reduce the suffering at your household. It's a pretty good goal.
Nobody wants suffering at their household. That is a fact, Jack. So prevention of illness, this falls under that term homeoprophylaxis, correct?
Right. Yep. Prophylaxis means prevention.
All right. So what are a couple of these remedies that you would recommend be in a household?
Okay, so on the prevention front, I think every household should have a vial of influenzinum, which is a homeopathic preparation of that year's flu vaccine. It's based on the Pasteur Institute's projections of what the problematic strains are going to be for that year, but it's just a little white pill, so there's no injections, there are no adjuvants, there's no aluminum or mercury or formaldehyde or any of those kinds of things that are required for an injectable. So in my practice, in my household, in my friends' households, those who will take my advice, we take 2 pellets of influenzinum once a month for the duration of flu season. And it's been years since we've had flu at my house, and that's nice. So anybody can do that. It's inexpensive. One little vial will cover a whole family for a year or maybe 2, and it's about $12. Yep. And another remedy that I think everybody should have at home is arnica. There's homeopathic arnica and there's herbal arnica. They're both great. Lots of people know about the arnica gel. So if you or a kiddo falls and that's going to turn into a bruise, and people will take the gel and slap it right on there. The sooner that you do it, the better it works. Arnica is pretty specific for blunt force trauma. So, falling down on the sidewalk, or things like car accidents or even surgery, arnica can be a really valuable tool. So I think everybody should have some of that. You can also get it in the little pellet form. Once again, your dose is 2 little pellets as soon as possible after the accident happens, and it can really reduce how purple things turn and how sore you get after one of those events happens. And it's really easy and inexpensive. So that's another one I think everybody should have.
Well, that's definitely something I actually use homeoprophylaxis in my own cosmetic acupuncture practice. And I will give my patients a homeopathic arnica tablet prior to them receiving the cosmetic acupuncture to reduce any sort of bruising in their face. Because unfortunately, that can be one of the side effects of acupuncture. So I found that, yeah, man, that arnica works slick at helping prevent bruising. And usually what happens is if I forget to give somebody their arnica and they bruise, then I give them the arnica. And it so helps in reduction of the bruising that it's not even funny. I mean, it's like almost a magic trick in some ways. So it works pretty slick.
Yes, and that's the response I've gotten, I bet. It's like, how does it, other responses to other wonderful things that you do. But I'm glad it's working out for your patients, Terry. That's great for me to hear. Yeah. So there are lots of different uses. I am running a study group right now. It's for the Weston A. Price Foundation there in Fort Collins for people who want to use homeopathic medicines at home for colds and flus and accidents and, life's little mishaps. And there are a number of great books out there for people to educate themselves on how to use these tools. I love them because they're non-toxic, they are inexpensive, they're easy to use, and for things like first aid and colds and flus, you're going to be the first on the scene, as a parent. So you're in a great position to make an early intervention that can really change the course of how things go with that accident or with that illness. And that's great for everybody involved and really empowering. So that's a great feeling. That's a Foxy feeling, to feel empowered.
You bet. Because you're worried about your kids because they're sick or they're hurt. Or if you're sick or hurt, well, you can't necessarily feel foxy. Now, foxy is kind of subjective, so I do like to ask each one of my guests, what does foxy and being foxy mean to you?
It means to me, just feeling whole in yourself and comfortable out in the world. Just not having to worry about how you're appearing or how you're feeling. You're just being. And that's a great feeling. I don't know if I'm saying enough. I think it's a little bit more than that. Foxy specifically is like you're feeling great about you. There. That's the bottom line.
Now, has there ever been a time in your life where you couldn't find that foxiness? And if so, what did you do to reclaim it? Because you are one foxy individual, let me tell you what.
Oh, thank you, Tim. Absolutely. Of course, we've all felt that before. I think, my kids are about grown now, but when they were little, I was delighted to be a mom. It was something I was really looking forward to, and it's just an incredible amount of work. And until you're there doing that work, it is hardly possible to imagine how all-encompassing it's going to be and how it's going to change your life. And I definitely had some, let's see, I don't know how you would describe it. Maybe postpartum depression is an accurate way to describe it. And with my first child, I did what people do a lot of times, which is I got really busy, right? I got really, really busy and joined lots of groups and went to lots of play groups and meetups, and they weren't called meetups back then, but that's what they were, get-togethers. And I really wish I'd had the tools that I know about now to help them. With my second kiddo, I was starting to learn about holistic medicine a little bit more. So I worked with a good naturopath and a good homeopath who really changed the trajectory of how things went for me. You know, instead of having to run around like a crazy person trying to find the thing that was going to make me feel better, I was able to work on a more holistic way to nourish my body. When your body is working well, then your mind works well, and you can think clearly and make better decisions about how you're going to spend your time and how you're going to be with your kids and with your work and all of those kinds of things. And that was a really good experience for me. Yeah. And hopefully I'm going to stay feeling kind of foxy for the next decades. But, you know, life has its ups and downs. And it's important to have people who can support you when you are feeling a little bit down. I mean, I have my helping staff now to this day, and I hope that I always will, because it's very difficult to see ourselves. And it's almost impossible to treat yourself with homeopathic medicines or anything else, because you can't really see yourself in any kind of unbiased way. And so that's the value of having well-trained professionals in your life who can help you when you need it, because they can see you without the bias and help you get back on the path that's really yours to walk.
Amen to that. And that's pretty much the goal right here for this podcast, is to help point women to those professionals who can then help them, support them, and get them back on that path of feeling so good and comfortable in their own bodies that they can go out there and then make that impact in the world, in their families, in their relationships, in their businesses. And I hear my dog coming downstairs here. So if you hear something, that's what's going on there.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Dog wants to be in the show.
Yes, I have a pug who wants to be a fox.
Who could blame it? Yeah, absolutely, Terry. That is the goal. Is there's no better feeling in life than when you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to do. When you feel like you're able to have the energy and the freedom from, I don't know, sometimes it's your body, you know, because you have symptoms, you're tired, you got headaches, you know, just are not able to do more than the minimum. Sometimes it's, you know, your emotional life that limits you. And, you know, there's help out there. And sometimes it's not complicated. And, you know, you and I both work in fields where we're working with non-addictive medicines that have a very long history of success. You know, things don't stick around for, you know, the many hundreds of years that ours have. Yours more than mine, but, you know, both our modalities have a really long record of success. And we live in an area where people can access them pretty readily. And I think that's a pretty great lifestyle boost.
You bet.
Yeah.
But who embodies Foxy in your world right now, Amber?
Who embodies Foxy in my world right now? You're catching me off guard a little bit on this one, but that's okay.
Could be someone in your family, could be somebody in the media, could be whoever comes to mind.
Well, okay. I hope it's okay. This is someone we both know. Amanda Fuel of CBC is, you know, she pretty well embodies Foxy to me these days. She is so lit up about her work, you know, and she says it kind of off the cuff, like, you know, the reason that I'm teaching how to tell your story in the world and bringing people together who want to be in business in a conscious, intentional way is because, you know, I'm not interested in doing other kinds of things. And I think it's great that she's really tuned into who she is and the gifts that she brings to the world. And I think that that's a great way to actually excel in what it is that you are here to do. You know, that you love, that lights you up. You can just not be interested in all the other things that don't light you up. You can just move on from those. And I think that's pretty foxy.
I would so agree.
Yeah.
Beyond the homeopathic work that you do, I mean, I've known you for a few years now, and I know you also practice a modality called BioSet.
Yes.
Would you enlighten our listeners about what BioSet is?
BioSet is a biofeedback and acupressure technique that was developed specifically for people who have food sensitivities and environmental sensitivities. It is just a really great tool. Sometimes it can knock out, we're not going to call them allergies because that's a diagnosis, but people's irritation with certain substances and foods really quickly. You know, I practice it because it was really powerful in my kids' lives. They were these super allergic kids who were, allergic to almost all foods. I mean, including lettuce, which shouldn't even be counted as a food if you're 3 years old. But yeah, terrible, right? And lots of environmental things as well. They were certainly challenged in their early years around those issues. And BioSet was fantastic. It just really changed our lives, and they were able to, go to birthday parties and eat all the food. And, for a certain period of my life, I was afraid all the time that they were going to have an anaphylactic reaction out in the world and die, and there would be nothing I could do. Yeah, worst case scenario. So, again, we worked with our BioSet practitioner, we worked with our homeopath, and all of that stuff got beautifully resolved, and it's just not an issue in their lives at all now. And I really give BioSet a lot of credit for that. I also use it in my practice to help remove obstacles to healing. Certainly those kinds of irritations with food and nutrition environment can be obstacles to healing because we keep getting hit over and over and over again by those substances. I mean, you got to eat, you got to breathe, you're not going to never go outside. I also use it to help people find the kinds of eating that's going to be most beneficial for them. What does their body want more of? What does this person's body want them to avoid, at least for right now? And I've seen beautiful results with people who probably did not come to see me for their food sensitivities necessarily. And they get to regain the pleasure of social eating and not having to worry all the time, because that stuff gets old. It's exhausting to always have to keep that in the front of your mind. If you're hanging out with somebody and they say, here, let's have coffee, and I made this lovely item for you, and maybe you're going to have to tell them, no, I can't have that, or it's just exhausting to have to worry all the time about what you're going to be exposed to that's going to make you feel cruddy again. And BioSet really offers a path for a lot of people to get to release that. And it's not overnight a lot of times. Sometimes we see great changes very quickly around specific issues, but long term, it can really change the way that you get to live, the way that it did for my kids and some of my clients as well. So, I'm a huge fan. BioSet and homeopathy together, I think, really are wonderful. I think about homeopathy is stimulating the body's innate intelligence on how it needs to function and how it can heal and come into balance. And BioSet is removing these obstacles to healing and functioning optimally. And together, I think it's a winning combination.
Oh, that is powerful. And just the idea of being able to take that amount of worry off your shoulders,
yeah,
is big. If you're not having to worry about, being so concerned about every little thing you eat or every little thing your children eat, oh my gosh, how much better will your life be when you don't have that weight? That's huge. I mean, that's life changing right there.
Absolutely. You know, nothing's less foxy than stress, Terry. I'm just going to riff on this because I like it.
I'm going to quote you on that right there.
Yeah, it's true. And, you know, a certain amount of stress is unavoidable. But, you know, by stress, I'm talking about, of course, not just work stress, but the things that you have to worry about, the stress on your body. These are all, you know, there are going to be times in our lives when they're high. And if you are in good shape, if you are in optimal condition, this stress is going to allow you to grow and become stronger and more functional and more skilled. And your immune system is going to be better next time that you have to face a challenge. But if you're not in good shape, if you're out of balance and you are compromised in one way or another, you know, the work stress is going to make you have migraine headaches, and you're not going to be able to grow the way that you might need to. And the illness is going to take you down for, you know, who knows how long. And so, you know, it's nice to not have stress or to not have the kind of stress that takes us down. So my goal with people, and I'm sure with yours too, is to have them functioning so that stress is a growth experience. It's strengthening, and you don't have to worry that it's going to take you out, you know. And when we're talking about food sensitivities, you don't have to worry that somebody's going to give you a sandwich that's going to send you to the hospital. I kind of jump around in ways that seem like non sequiturs to a lot of people, but because I think of all these things as related, it's all related, it's all the same story. It comes out the way it does for me. Cheese sandwiches and work stress, kind of the same thing. Okay. Not really, but they can trigger your body in similar ways.
How can people get a hold of you to get more information?
Sure. Well, my website is RockyMountainHomeopathy.com. There are dashes between each word, so it's Rocky-Mountain-Homeopathy.com. And there's a fair amount of material there. And I also offer free 30-minute consults for anybody who would like to speak to me specifically about what's going on with their body, what their health goals are, and what working together might look like to get them to their goals. And people can book those from my website. People are also welcome to call me at my office. Should I give my contact information? If you go to my website, you'll have my contact information. So my last name is Currie, Amber Currie. My practice is Rocky Mountain Homeopathy. I've been here in Northern Colorado for coming up on 10 years, so I'm not too hard to find. And I love to talk to people about helping them to get into the position where they can really live the way that they want to live.
Excellent. Well, I'll be sure to add all your contact information into the show notes. So all you've got to do is go to thegetfoxyshow.com and check out Amber's episode, and all of her information will be right there in the show notes. Amber, we're bumping up against time here, but I want to say thank you. I so very much appreciate you taking the time, because I know you are a busy lady helping folks, and you are just such a consummate professional. And it's been wonderful getting this time to chat with you, and thank you.
Thank you, Terry. I appreciate getting to speak with you.